Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode. I am so excited to talk to you guys about my quantum year. If you are new in here, if you missed it last week, go back and listen to last week where I really dive into what a quantum year is and how to really see yourself as your future self. And so last week we talked a lot about mindset and thinking when it comes to creating your quantum leap year. So that whole idea is how do I start acting right now as my future self, despite the fact that I'm in my present body, I'm in this present moment. What I'm experiencing isn't what I want to be experiencing. So, we did a lot of that. So, you can go back and you can listen to that. I'm going to just cover a little bit of it because, quite frankly, I am in this phase of 1000% creating my quantum leap year as we speak. It is happening. It has been happening. I can't even stop it from happening. That's how high level believability. And I want to talk to you about that today too. So I want to talk about my quantum leap year and what's going on in my life for sure. But then also what that might mean for you if you are looking for a quantum leap year for yourself, especially around your health, around your body, around your weight loss journey, around healing your behaviors around food. Like, really, having a quantum leap year can be epic. So, last week, and again, you guys can go back and listen to it. So, I gave one example of a pretty famous study in Russia where Russian scientists took these elite athletes and they compared four groups, right? So, one group, all that they did, and remember, these are like elite athletes. So, all that they focused on was physical training, right? Which is important. You're going to be an elite athlete, you got to do that. But the second group had 75% focus on physical training, but 25% on their mindset, on mental training, on working with this noggin, right? Group 3 was 50-50. Group 4 only had 25% and physical training, but 75% mental training. So just follow me here. The group 4 is the one that had the most, or how do I say this? They performed the best out of all 4 groups of equal elite athletes. The ones that only did the physical training for 25%, but did all of this work with mindset, mental training, they are the ones that performed the best. And I think that really speaks to the fact that we have to, if we really truly want to get into that quantum leap energy, we must train our brains. We must train our thoughts. We must train this. And so we also talked about a little bit in last week about not metaphysics, but like quantum physics. And this idea about reality, how truth be told, when it's about your body and you're living in a body that doesn't feel good, you can feel that it feels expanded. You can feel that you have a lot of food cravings. You can feel all these things. And that is your present reality, right? I feel driven to eat, or I'm not, even if I'm doing the right things, even if I'm starting to move my body or get more sleep or change my relationship with food in all these different ways, I'm still in the present reality of not happy with my body. And that is something that we have to really look at here, because what quantum physics says is that there is no single reality. And part of the reasons why we can't quantum leap is because we're so stuck in what we see around us as our reality. But if you dive into this from a quantum physics perspective, literally, when you understand that the reality that you are living in, reality itself is an electromagnetic transmission that is being projected out. It's being projected out by the brain. Okay. And so this is a little, I don't know, it was a little over my head, but I can really understand it. I've done enough semi studying of quantum physics to get on board with this. But the idea is that there is no reality unless our brain actually processes it, unless our brain is the one that makes meaning of it and processes it, okay? So reality is non-existent without consciousness actually creating it, right? Without the mind, there is no matter. And so, excuse me, it takes an observer, it takes you to be able to hold the consciousness of the thing that you're trying to create. But if your consciousness is only looking at what's been created up to this point, and it's not what you want, it's really hard to create something different. And even more so if you are living daily in a body that feels brain fogged, tired, lethargic, achy joints, that urge and desire to eat white flour, white sugar, anything like that. If it just feels like food is in control and you're literally living in a body that doesn't feel good for you, this is present reality, but being able to get to the other side requires you to create a different vision for yourself, right? This is the mindset part. Okay. And the way that we do this, I was listening to a podcast this morning and I love this podcast. It's funny. I listened to this podcast probably 8 months ago or something like that. And I only listened to one episode and I did not like it at all. I was like, but I listened to it again, maybe like a couple of weeks ago, and I have been mesmerized. I'm like, "Oh my god, I am loving this." For anybody to know, it's what is it called? The Manifestation Babe. I think that's what it's called, The Manifestation Babe, or just plain Manifestation Babe. And I was just thinking, I'm like, "How many people have listened to my podcast?" And ultimately hated it and didn't listen to it again. That's how I feel about her podcast. I'm like, I wasn't into it for that first one, but I'm so glad I listened to more than one. I'm so glad I did this because she's talking about quantum leaping a lot right now. And ultimately, whenever we can understand like what a quantum leap is, ultimately, it's your ability to get there faster than you ever could have imagined, but it only happens, and this is important when we're talking about health and healing in the body, it only happens and sticks, like actually sticks when you are working diligently, and I'm talking like daily on your mind, on your thoughts, on your beliefs, on your toxic beliefs, the way that you see yourself in the world, because really, truly, if you're the one creating the decision to change your life, but you're stuck in this reality that is right now, the thing is that the reason why reality is showing up the way that it's showing up right now is that we have this reticular activation system, RAT. And whenever it's a part of our brain that basically just filters, it filters and filters all of this incoming data and it filters it based on what your toxic beliefs are, what you already believe about yourself to be true, right? It really filters it out, which is why we just keep creating the same reality. All right. And if we are not willing to work with our thoughts and work with our mind, it's just I'm telling you, shit's just not gonna go the way that you want to go. And so last week we talked about how to really truly live as your future self. Literally show up today, present moment, even if it's not exactly where you wanna be. Like, obviously, the reality around you is showing you not the reality that you are preferring. But when you show up as if it already is, as if your prayers have already been answered, that's exactly the way she said it, and I love that. It's the sense of I already am my future self. And when you do this, what happens is you are able to completely shift in this present moment that reality to the reality of the future self who you are desiring to be. And the more that you practice this and the more that you practice this. So go back and listen to last week's episode because I go really in detail about how to actually activate that future self over and over again. But what I wanna talk about today is I wanna talk about the future self that you have right now, that is in the future, that has already got it, but is in this place of maintaining, right? I wanna talk about that to start with, and then I wanna talk about practicalities. What are the practical step by steps? What I think it works for my clients who end up having amazing quantum leap years and what works and what I'm doing and how I'm integrating this with my own personal quantum leap journey because it's pretty amazing and big. Like just already the things that are starting to come into place and happen in such a short period of time. But ultimately, again, go build out your future self, go back to last week's episode. But what we want to talk about today is that future self of yours who is already maintaining, right? I want you to think about whenever you're sitting in your now reality and you can't get out of it, and what you're doing is you're yearning and you're achieving and you're shoving and pushing and you're trying and it's so hard and you have all of this intensity, you're literally coming from a lack energy because you don't actually have the reality you want in this moment. But here you are, like, trying to strive and achieve over here to get this reality for yourself. But what's happening is because you don't have it yet, it's this constant chase. And what you don't want to get is lost in the chase of it. But if you, again, come from a future self energy, and very specifically, I want you to imagine the future self energy that is maintaining. Think about that. You are there, you've made it, and you've been there for a while. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You're like, things are locked and loaded. So when I think about my journey to really stabilizing my weight, getting out of diet culture, really stabilizing my weight, and doing the work of healing all of these deeper reasons why I would be using food as a coping mechanism, using food when I'm sad or lonely, comfort eating, stress eating, mindless eating, all of these ways in which would just start to take over. And I had to handle that. So imagine that. So your future self has had this handled for a long ass time. Okay. And when you can come from that place, when you are creating that future self, right? Think to yourself, like, here I am in the future self that is like maintaining the life that she absolutely wants. What do I eat regularly? How do I move? What boundaries do I have to put in place? Like, where do I learn how to say yes to people and no to people? Yes to myself and also a loving boundary of no. Where is your future self who's in this maintenance mode? How is she in relationship with hunger and enough and her capacity to really truly honor that? How is she learning how to say yes and no to food? If you're saying yes to one food, you're saying no to another food, right? If you're saying yes to one thing, you're likely saying no to another thing. Ultimately, when you can put yourself into that energy, what happens is you make discoveries along the way. So here you are, I'm bringing out this future self energy. What would she do? And now you start to dive into your intuition. Now, the journey forward, you start really going, wait a second, if I can really look at this. When you think of yourself as your future self, who is in the process of maintaining, you are easily going to start to see where you are right now, present day, out of alignment with that future self who already has that thing and has had it for a long time, is been at her ideal size. Her health is rocking. Her energy is stabilized. She has the wardrobe, right? Whatever the thing is, right? And when you can get that kind of clarity regularly, right? That's where quantum leaps truly can start to happen. Okay. I want to just dive into my own quantum leap. Very clear a perspective that I'd like to talk about is, 12 years ago when I finally got out of diet culture, off the diet train, I just threw my middle fingers up and went, screw this. And I started a much deeper dive into a journey inward to figure out why food was the answer for fucking everything, why I hated my body so much. And quite frankly, the gaining of the weight and then losing of the weight and then staying stuck in different places based on what was going on in my inner world. I just needed some bigger healing. Okay. And so I am on the other side of that in a huge way. And I work with clients to get on the other side of this in a huge, powerful way. All right. It was a beautiful time in my life, and I don't know if I had these skill sets that I'm sharing with you right now that I am cultivating. In fact, I know I haven't, or else I'd be in a very different place right now. But I did have a lot of capacity to be like, I'm never going to be in this place again. So I didn't have the quantum leap capacity. And it did take me a long time, quite frankly. And the way that we dispel this out for our clients and Hello Body Freedom, it can happen faster than you like the level of quantum leap. If you are truly ready for your quantum leap, it can be very powerful. But for me, getting out of that diet mentality where I was going on a diet, losing weight, and then off of the diet and gaining weight, where I was on the diet, so I had a very restrictive way of eating, and then I'd go off of the diet, and then I was confused about what to eat because I'm like, what's good and what's not good? Should I be gluten free or am I supposed to be paleo? Wait, am I vegan today? Or oh no, dairy free. Oh wait, is dairy good or bad? Like it can be like diet culture has a lot wrong with it. A lot. And being able to get out of that and creating better skill sets for myself around food and around emotions. I always say that the work that I have done around healing my emotional eating, healing overeating, stress eating, mindless eating, angry eating, my Lord knows I did a lot of that. Excited eating, oh my God, anytime it was like a party or a big out to eat with a group of friends, whatever it might have been, like absolute disconnection from my body and just shoving shit in my face until I was like sick to my stomach. Or the opposite of that, when I'm trying to be really diety and healthy, I wouldn't eat a bite and then I would go binge after. Just like a crazy relationship. So to this day, I imagine I'll say it forever, maybe up until this point, because to this day, that this has been the absolute best thing I've ever done is heal that. Okay. And so I do want to talk about what that would look like for you in based on what I see works for quantum leaps for my clients. But then I also want you to know that I have been at my ideal size now and I have not changed my weight at all. And I have a easy, crazy, awesome, peaceful relationship with food. I eat what I want. I eat healthy foods. I eat unhealthy foods. I prefer to call them fun foods. I know when to say yes to the fun food, and I know when to say yes to the healthy food, and vice versa. I know when to say no to the healthy food and when to say no to the fun food. My capacity to trust myself around food, and also the untangling of emotional eating, the untangling of eating because I'm bored, eating because it sounds good, eating because ooh, that tastes good. I'm going to keep eating. Even though I know I'm full, ooh, let me just keep eating 12 more bites and then wonder why I feel like shit and wonder why I'm overweight, wonder why I can't seem to lose this weight, right? These things have been handled for a long time in my life. And it is, I think, everybody's birthright. I think we all deserve to have that kind of relationship with our food and our body where we are at our ideal size and where we're making progress. We're at our ideal size and we don't change, is what I'm saying. Like my weight maybe fluctuates and has for the last maybe 12 years for about 5 pounds, right? 5 or 6 pounds, which is a normal, absolute normal amount of fluctuation based on the season and all of that stuff. And so I'm saying all of this because I have been at what feels like maintenance in terms of my body for a long time. Okay. My blood work is normal, all the things. But part of my quantum leap year is around my body. And I want to really dive into this with you. We'll talk about this. But before I do that, because it is, we want to talk about maintenance, I want to talk about body, but I want to also be like fully transparent with my quantum leap year. There are 3 different avenues that I am in, like, 100% go mode with working with my thoughts, working with my toxic beliefs, putting myself into my future self over and over again, and acting as if I already have it right now. And so the 3 pieces of my quantum leap year, the very first one is my business, right? And I feel like my business has been in maintenance as well, like my body. I've been in maintenance for a long time, this maintaining. But here's like, not that there's anything wrong with maintaining, but there is an itch inside of me that is, it hasn't really grown for about 3 or 4 years. It's just been like this steady kind of still. And there's this part of me that's, I want more. I want more for what my business can be, for how I can help so many women really truly come into right relationship with food and body, that I have the techniques and tools, and I have been doing this work for now almost 3 decades, y'all, like crazy long time to be doing this work, but it just feels like status quo. And I am ready for a quantum leap year, full blown, with my business, with what it means to show up in a bigger way, to serve our clients in a bigger way. I cannot think of something that feels like it's just like it's right there. The second one is my relationship. And that's the other thing. It just feels like maintenance. Doesn't feel bad. It's not like awful. It's not like I'm like done here. It's just that it feels stuck and stagnant in so many ways. And I am able to see the ways. Now we can't control other people, obviously, but I see the ways that my own toxic beliefs, my own past conditioning show up inside of my intimate partnership right now. And I'm just fucking sick of it. I'm just really sick of it. I don't want it anymore. Quantum leap has to happen. Okay. And then the third one is my body. All right. And so this is where I want to spend some of my time. But what I will say in terms of quantum leap for business, what you are seeing more of now and what you will continue to see more of is a whole lot more connection to community. So inside our Facebook group with clients, inside of the challenge, inside of social media, you're just going to see a lot more like training and help that's helpful. You're going to love it, I think. All right. And in terms of relationship, we're still working on that. But for sure, we are signing up for couples counseling because I think like once a week, just like coaching calls, man. I don't know if we're doing couples coaching or couples therapy. Like Josh is a licensed therapist. I'm a professional coach. We're both this, but we're going to find the right fit. But we're both committed to weekly because we think that this will be a good container for us to actually be able to work through to get to this quantum leap in our relationship this year. Okay. And so these are things that we're just fully committed to. There's a lot more with my business. Oh my God. I hired my dream coach. I shouldn't say I hired. I should say like she finally had an opening and I finally was gifted the capacity to be her client. I just can't wait to work with her. So there's like a lot of great, great things going on right now. So the business, the relationship, but now let's go talk about the body because it has been maintenance mode. Okay. My blood work is normal. I've ended my relationship with a shit ass relationship with food. I don't overeat. I don't undereat. I eat what I want. All of these things. Already said all this. And I find that in this place, it's actually the hardest, right? Because my blood work is normal. But here's what's going on. And I've known this has been going on since 2020, and now it's 2024. And that's why it just feels like stagnant. And I am ready to change it. And I'm going to be sharing this publicly on social media all over the place. So you are going to get to come along my journey with me. But here's the situation. My weight is not changed. Like, my eating behaviors are clear. I like my body, like, it is great. Like, I'm not there's nothing about it. I have some injuries and things like that. I have energy situations, but overall, my relationship with food and my ideal size, like, I'm real, like, happy and have been for over a decade now. But here's the situation since 2020. I had a pretty regular, active workout regime. I don't even like the word workout. Move my body regime in a way, I don't even regime is the wrong word, but moving my body in a way that keeps my body feeling alive and energetic and healthy. And since 2020, it really has just gone away. Very specifically, strength training and working with my body at that level has just gone to shit. And what I have noticed, and here's the other thing about my habits. I think this is important to say, and I have all of my clients start this way. Every client starts this way. So if you already have a fitness regime or something you love to do, of course you're not going to stop doing that. Go keep doing the thing you love. But if you like don't do anything and that just nothing is your like your MO, then moving your body more is the first step. Just more movement. And so you don't need special shoes for that. You don't need a sports bra for that. You don't need a gym membership for that. You just need to move more. And so I want to be straight up that like in the last 4 years that I felt stagnant with my body, I still walk between 10 and 15,000 steps a day. Like, why? Because that habit is in place. And so this is always the first place that I'll tell clients to work with. Like, just get up from your desk and walk around the building and sit back down. Do that once an hour and see what magic shows up. Just park a little further the next time you go to the whatever store you're going to. Just take the stairs next time you think you're going to take an elevator. Like, really simple changes. And I don't even have to think about it anymore. I literally don't have to think about it. 10 to 15,000 steps every day. But for sure, what's going on with my body is, and I went, boy, I'm all over the place a little bit. Sorry. I'm so excited and want to really share this with you guys. It is what I've suspected for a long time now. Even though my body weight really hasn't changed at all, I look and feel weaker and a little bit more jiggly. And I am 47 years old. I'm pushing 50, baby. Okay. And for anybody listening to this podcast, first off, your 20s are when anything can go and you really get no consequences. If you can get into healthy habits and healthy food habits and healthy movement habits in your 20s, that's what makes that great is that hopefully it will go into your 30s and 40s. But as you start to move into your 30s, we start to have changes and shifts and declining, but specifically and especially starting at 40 for women, 40s, 50s, and beyond, 60s. Wow, the changes that happen in the body. And for sure about muscle and muscle mass and strength. And I was just listening to a different podcast this weekend and it was a doctor being interviewed and he's talking about like using like health and the medical world and he calls it like 3.0. 1.0 medicine and doctors are basically trying to guess. This is back in the day when they would put leeches on your arm and hope that something worked, right? But then 2.0 is okay, now we have science behind it and let's just see what we can have this for the science situation. And then it's all like diagnosis based, right? It's this whole sense of, oh my gosh, this one thing is wrong with you. Let's focus on just that one thing and let's create a pill for that to fix that one thing that creates a lot of other points. But the idea of 3.0 is really focusing on all of you, not just you just not getting a disease, but you actually thriving. And he talked a lot about not just longevity, like living a long life, but he talked about what it means to live an epic life where you're in your 80s and 90s and you can easily get on the ground and off the ground and throw your grandkids up and go for a hike. And I'll have to find him. I'll have to find him and put him in the show notes. I haven't even read his book, but he was talking about his book. And he said that of all the things he talks about in his book, there's a reason why exercise, moving your body, is 3 entire chapters in his book. And I'm listening to this going, "Hell yes, I know it." And so for the last 4 years, I have not been strength training. I have not been doing the things with my body that help me stay in the kind of shape that feels like I can keep muscle on my body. As a woman who is in her 40s and 50s, and I'm not saying that everybody has to feel the way I do. I work with a lot of clients that are just absolutely not interested in that, and that's okay. We can still help you heal your relationship with food, come into an ideal size, get like your health markers will get better for sure when you do this. But where I'm at my level, what I started noticing is I'm really worried that even though my size is the same, I really believe that my muscle mass has decreased, which means that my body fat has increased. And sure as shit, I was right. I went and did a DEXA scan. A DEXA scan is the number one most accurate way to test body composition. And they have a company that's out here in Dallas. Actually, I think they're nationwide. So if you're in the US, I don't, if you're not in the US, I don't know. But in the US, there's a lot of cities that they're in. I can pop that link in here as well. But anyhow, for sure, weight the same. And I'm like, "Oh, man, that is a body fat that I was not expecting to see," but or actually I was expecting to see it. It makes sense. It makes sense. So, I am on this place in this moment of my quantum leap year where I am just sick of the status quo. I don't wanna feel like shit anymore. I don't wanna feel tired or lethargic anymore. And so the big part of this for me, I'm calling it like my body reset year. This is the year that I'm taking this seriously, this quantum leap of wanting to really truly get my health in a place that isn't just that, oh, my blood work looks normal, but is that I am like fully thriving. And for me, that includes muscle on my body. That includes that I can lift heavy shit. That includes that whatever physical therapy that I need for my elbow and my knee, which are 2 things that that gets handled. And I've already started strength training and doing some hard workouts. My goal is to strength train at least 3 times a week to start with. And I have this broken out in terms of goals throughout the year, right? Because what will happen as does is that you get to a certain level, you start to up level, you start to up level, and then there's a thermostat that goes on, right? You up level your life by handling emotional eating, by really getting this to the bottom of the story. And then you hit some upper limit and then you just end up right back where you're starting. And how do we work with that? We work with that by consciously over and over again working with our future self, our thoughts, our toxic beliefs, questioning them, choosing to be in the vibration and the energy that you already have the thing you want and showing up as that person right now. Okay. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more about my quantum year, I would love for you to let me know. Drop me a DM in Facebook or in Instagram or in TikTok. Can you drop me DMs in TikTok? I'm not even sure. I have to check on that. But what I'll tell you is that if you are looking for your quantum year, if you are looking for your quantum leap year with your body, with your health, with your weight loss journey, I have a few pieces here that I want to share with you today. And this is the order that absolutely needs to be in. Okay. If you are truly looking for that quantum leap year, and I'm going to give you the entire thing. And it is like how to quantum leap with your body and with your health. If you want it, just put it in DM. You can drop it in the DMs in Facebook or in Instagram, or you can leave a comment wherever, right? In social media, just leave the comment and just write the word quantum year. I want that quantum year. So, quantum year. And if you write that, I will get a hold of you and I will get you the whole thing. But for right now, I want to go over the first 4, right? The very first one that we've already talked about, I spent an entire podcast last week and half of this podcast today, which is you absolutely must put yourself in a state as if it already exists. This is your future self. And that requires you to work with your thoughts and your mindset constantly over and over again to train yourself into that space. That is the very first piece. If you are not, it's not that you can't have some level of a quantum leap. I know that I have had at least one giant quantum leap in my life. Big, maybe two. But it dissipated really quick because I was still stuck in old thought patterns and beliefs, right? How many of you who've lost weight and been on a weight loss journey and you finally lost the weight, but nothing in terms of your mindset and the way that you think and see yourself and what you believe about yourself, none of that changed. None of that changed. And then you wonder why you gained the weight back, right? And so the very first thing, you must work with your thoughts. You must work with your mindset. Number 2, if you are chronically dieting, if you are going down the diet culture toilet bowl, you really need to get out of that. What dieting and diet culture do, it's just physiology. If you massively undereat, which is what diets and diet culture basically tell you to do, if you massively undereat, your physiology will absolutely kick in and then you will overeat. So you will be stuck on this weight loss, weight gain roller coaster, and it really matters. So if you are drastically cutting calories, if you are cutting out whole food groups, so these ways of eating that tell you you're only allowed to eat these certain things and you can never eat those things, that's called psychological deprivation. If you are doing any of that, you are basically setting yourself up to fail. So none of this works if you're working against your physiology. All right. So that has to be number 2. And number 3 is absolutely immediately more important than eating healthy food and exercising is you have to be working with the reasons you are overeating in the first place. That means stress eating, mindless eating, comfort eating, excited eating, angry eating because you feel like it, eating because it tastes good. There are a trillion reasons why we eat that have nothing to do with physical hunger and enough. None. Absolutely none. Okay. And the truth of the matter is that is an unconscious, subconscious patterning that you have in your body that is connected to your nervous system and your nervous system's ability to tolerate bad shit like negative emotions, like grief, sadness, stress, pain, suffering, all of these intense things that we can feel in our body. And if you have a habit of, and you probably learned this a long time ago, where you feel something that doesn't feel good in your body and then you eat food and the food makes you feel better, you just created a habit loop, right? Most of us learn how to do this as kids, right? That is a strong habit loop. And then if you learned it young and you just keep doing it, there's a reason. You have food and feelings completely tangled together at an inside level. So you could mindset yourself all the way and do all this future pacing, but when you get into feeling a real shitty day, let's say a real high stress day where you're feeling intensity and you can't even tolerate what's going on inside of you, your strong habit loop to use food as a not just a coping mechanism, but really a safety mechanism. The nervous system has learned that this is a way to stay safe. This is a way to feel better. And so really untangling this as your first thing to do is absolutely crucial. So we have a course inside of Hello Body Freedom. It's called Food and Feelings. Reach out, DM me if you're interested. But this is what we do inside of Hello Body Freedom with our clients. It's like we start like this. And then the next part really has to do with getting your sexy habits down, right? And what your sexy habits are not what you think they are. If you've been lost in diet culture for so long and you think those sexy habits are, oh, only eating kale salads and never eating ice cream again, then you've got something wrong. If you think that it's joining the gym and working out 5 hours a day and that's gonna be the answer, that's not necessarily. That's not for everybody. You don't have to be that person either to really get to the other side of this. There are a lot more steps in this quantum leap, but these are the first 4, and if you want to know those sexy habits, just go ahead and drop me a DM, put it in the comments, and write "quantum year," okay? You can leave it in comments, you can leave it in a direct message, and if you leave this for me, I will send you the beautiful new fresh PDF that you can just see it written out and you can see, okay, this is what it takes for that quantum leap year. Yeah. And yay! Thank you guys so much for coming and playing today. That was so much fun playing on Instagram and playing inside of Facebook. And I'm really excited to share my own quantum leap year as I work with my own thoughts around exercise and fitness and my own habits around food and share how emotions come into play. And if you want to come play, just send me that comment, drop that DM. quantum year, and I will see you there. All right, y'all. Thanks so much, and I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.